Hey, this is Valerie Love with a message on what to do when spirits show up. So, yesterday I was watching TV and I was watching a show and Layla Ali was on the show and this was some kind of ghost show. And on this particular ghost show, she was telling the story of how she went to her girlfriend's haunted house. And she went to the bathroom in her girlfriend's haunted house. She was in the bathroom as she was getting ready to wash her hands, and the light went off. And she got a little, because she knew she had turned the light on. So she switched the light back on and continued with washing her hands. And the light went off again. And this time she looked at the light switch and the light switch was clicked down, which means something turned the light off while she's in the bathroom. And so then she hears this voice from behind her, and the voice says something to her. And she can't see a thing because she can't get the lights on. And she's starting to be really fearful, she said, and she's starting even almost to panic. And she says, "Oh my God, this thing is going to get me because now I'm here in this bathroom. I don't know what to do. This spirit, this ghost is in here with me. I got to get out of here." So she runs over to the bathroom door and she grabs the knob to try to open the bathroom door, and it's locked. She can't get out. Now she knows this thing is in the bathroom with her behind her. The lights are off. It's dark. She can't see. She said now, and she heard the voice. Now she had this full blown panic and cannot get the door open to get out the bathroom, pulling and pulling and pulling for dear life at the bathroom knob. So she begins to, and it's locked. She's locked in there with the spirit, the thing. And now she starts to bang on the door and ask for help, cry for help. Help! Get me out of here! Get me out of here! To get out the bathroom. And her girlfriend comes and says, "I'm coming, I'm coming." Her girlfriend opens the bathroom door and she says, "I gotta get out of here." She said, "Why didn't you just open the door?" She said the door was locked. And the girlfriend said, "No, it wasn't. It wasn't locked. I turned it and opened it just like that." She said, "Something's in there with the in me in there with me in the bathroom." She runs into the living room. She's grabbing her purse so she can get out of here. Her girlfriend says, "Well, I told you my house was haunted." She said, "Well, I don't care nothing about that. I don't know how you gonna even be living in here with this like this." And he runs out. So this is the message I want to share with you about that from a person who has, I don't know if you could call it a blessing. I guess it is a blessing and a gift to talk to a lot of spirits and have experiences with lots of spirits. And this is what I want to say about spirits and spirit visitation. Every time after I started to understand this, every time a spirit has visited me, all I had to do was just ask them a couple of questions, and then it becomes apparent what's going on with this spirit. So the other day I had a visitation. I was in the twilight. I was coming out of sleep and going into a wakefulness. That's right where shamans walk, in between worlds. And it's the twilight. It's before you wake up, and yet you're not all the way asleep. So I was in the twilight, lying on the bed, and I had a visitation. A spirit came, a male, and sat, a masculine energy, and came and sat at the foot of the bed. Well, when he came in and sat at the foot of the bed, immediately I asked, I didn't feel any fear or anything like that. Immediately I asked, "Well, who are you?" He said, "Samuel's son." So when he said Samuel's son, something in me took me to the Bible, to Samuel's two sons. Samuel may have had more than two sons, but the two sons that immediately popped into my mind were Hophni and Phineas, and neither one of them were good characters in the Bible, according to Bible stories. And I was like, they weren't too helpful. Are you of the light? That was my next question, because I want to know what I'm dealing with. So, still, I didn't have any fear, any concern. I asked, "Are you of the light?" He said, "Yes." And then that was the end of the conversation. He went on his way, I went on mine, and then I came all the way into full wakefulness. One day I'll tell you that story, and I want to tell you this story, and then I'm going to pull the whole thing together. Layla Ali's story, that story of the visitation on the bed, and this story I'm getting ready to tell you. I was washing dishes in the kitchen. This is when I was living with my second husband. So we had this big, huge kitchen, and every so often when I washed dishes in the kitchen, I could sense that there was something behind me. Now, the thing that was behind me, it wasn't frightening. It was never frightening. I think I wrote about this in one of my books. It might have been in God is in Love with You. It is. It's in God is in Love with You. If you don't have it, get that book. It's on Amazon.com. Anyway, I was in the kitchen and I felt this presence behind me. And before I turned around, because I was nervous to turn around, this is before I really was deep into working with spirits on a conscious level and feeling comfortable with it and being okay with it and knowing it's my path, it's my reason for being, it's part of the reason for being here, and it's part of just the natural unfoldment of my soul. So before I turned around, I had this like panic in me because I knew I was going to turn around, and I asked him what his name was, and he said Damiel. And when he said his name was Damiel, I didn't know anything about that name. I had never heard that name before, and I was completely oblivious to what that might mean. Something in me said turn around, and I was a little panicked at first, and I said, you know what, I'm going to turn around, and whatever I see, I'm going to be okay with it. So I turned myself around, and when I turn around, all I sense, feel, experience is this tremendous feeling of love, this tremendous whoosh. It felt like this tremendous presence of love. It was overwhelming love, more than I had ever sensed from any being before in my life. I had never had an experience like that before, and I'm standing here in the kitchen having this experience with Damiel, and it was divine. So hence started a walk that I had for many years with Damiel, an angel that came to support me in what was going to happen in the dissolving of that marriage, in the separation, in the ensuing, all the things that would bring, in my move to my own home, in the writing of the book, God is in Love with You. Damiel was here for all of that. And it was a beautiful experience. Now, when I Googled Damiel, different things come up, and I believe that there is a Damiel who maybe wasn't of the light, who was a problematic kind of being. But that wasn't my experience. My experience with Damiel was very profoundly powerful, full of love. Now, here is the thread I want to draw between all three of these stories. The story of Layla Ali in the bathroom with the spirit, the story of the spirit visitation to me the other night as I'm in the twilight, and the story of the spirit visitation when I was in the kitchen doing the dishes. All we have to do is ask without fear, what is this spirit's name, its purpose? Why are you here? Wouldn't you ask that of any person that came and knocked on your door? You would answer the door and say, yes, may I help you? Hello. You would probably greet them, ask how they are, maybe invite them in. How can I help you? What do you need from me? Why are you knocking on my door? It's the same thing with spirits. If they come knocking on your door, knock, knock, knock. If they come knocking on your door, there's a reason why they're coming to see you. There's 7 billion people on this planet. They could be at anybody's bedside, but no, he's at mine. Why? The only way you're going to know that is if you ask. So, no running from the spirits, no getting panicked, because when you get panicked, you can't ask, what is your purpose for being here? What do you want? What is your name? Are you of the light? These are some simple questions that I ask every spirit that comes. Why are you here? What is your name? Are you of the light? Many times they'll even announce to me who they are before they show up. I'll finish with this last spirit visitation. I was coaching a client and she kept talking to me about her grandmother. Her grandmother who had crossed on to the other side. While I'm driving in the van, I drop off all the people that were in the van with me, except my daughter. My daughter is in the van. She's asleep. Lo and behold, after I drop off the last person that was in the van, I turned around and grandma of my client sitting back there on the last row of the van holding my daughter because my daughter was laying asleep. So here she is laying across, my daughter's laying across her lap. And so I immediately knew that it was my client's grandmother. And then the question becomes, okay, why are you here? And the reason that she was here was to really convey her profound, her, I don't want to use the word that she was sorry for what happened. I want to say that she was, had a change of disposition and demeanor from how she was when she was on the earth, because my client perceived her as a very mean person to her when she was on earth, her grandmother. And now her grandmother is here more in a place of saying that that's really not who she is anymore. And she would love for her granddaughter to see and experience her as she is now, as a more loving being of light. So if you get a spirit visitation, ask a few simple questions. Do a greeting. Hi, how are you? Who are you? What's your name? Are you of the light? And those simple questions will then lead you to why the spirit is visiting you. Pray this is supportive. I love you with the love of God. Be blessed. Visit me online at ValerieLove.com. Mwah.